Hi, my name is Candace Thompson. I'm the Assistant Director of Nursing here at the VIC. So I'm just going to start off by showing you our agenda for RPIW 39, which is to decrease the lead time from the needs assessment to when it hits the level of care committee. And our team will perform to a TAC time of 20 minutes. And this is our lovely team of RPIW 39.
I'm trying to shut it off.
So here's our work project form, and as I mentioned, we were here to decrease the lead time from the needs assessment to when the client is presented to the level of care committee. So a little bit about this process. Patients waiting for long-term care determination on average wait for 63 days from the time they're presented to deemed alternate level of care to the client presentation at the long-term care committee. There are two components to getting assessed for the long-term care committee, and that includes a portion that's done by the patient care coordinator when they do an assessment, and also by the long-term care assessor when they do their MDS, or which is known as the minimal data set. Also, the Ministry of Health defines alternate level of care as patient no longer requiring acute care. So some of the barriers that we really identified and wanted to address this week were batching of long-term care assessments to our level of care committee. The needs assessment form does really not always contain all the necessary information. Our needs assessment form is not available electronically, and there are a lot of duplication processes in each process.
Afternoon, my name is Edward Harding. I'm the Executive Director of Finance and Infrastructure with Kiwanayate Regional Health Authority. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay. I'd like to express my appreciation for being part of this RPIW, and as a co-lead, especially enjoyed the time. What we've got up here is the current value stream map prior to our work being performed. And essentially it shows lead time from basically ultimate level of care being determined to when it goes to the level of care committee for determination at 419 hours. Some of the issues here, basically we're going over a couple of program areas. Part of the work was being done by the patient care coordinators in developing and completing the work, the needs assessment. Then going into home care, over to the long-term care coordinator, information captured there, passed on to the long-term care assessor, gathering of information, client-patient interviews, so forth, entering the information into the minimal data set, which then went to the level of care committee itself. I guess a couple of the starbursts, and not to duplicate some of the issues that Tanis identified. Inconsistent workflow functions, the fact that the needs assessment was not electronic, duplication of information being actually presented to the level of care committee. Okay. So this is our target progress report, and I won't go over everything, but I'll just highlight some of the things of importance. Okay. Essentially, can you raise it up a bit? Okay, all right. The baseline for lead time of 419 hours, we want to get at least a 50% reduction there. The fact that the movement of the actual form itself was at 171 feet, we wanted to halve that. And looking at the time that the long-term care assessor spent in gathering the information and entering into the data set to go into long-term care, going from 54 hours or 48 hours down to about 16. So What we're looking at here is the calculation for tack time, and tack time is basically, you know, when things should be leaving the system. So you see a repetitive, it's sort of the heartbeat of the system. It's constantly happening at a predetermined pace. So we concentrated on the long-term care assessor and the amount of time that it took her to produce a package to go to the level of care itself. Our data was 43 needs assessments done in 133 working days. So once we crunched the numbers, we came up to basically less than roughly a third of the unit on a daily basis, which translated into 23 hours and 26 minutes to basically pop out the documentation going to the level of care committee itself.
Good afternoon. My name is Debbie Skavinsky. I'm an assessor with home care. So assessors primarily work at the home care office. Upon notification that a level of care presentation is completed by the patient care coordinator, the assessor starts working on the patient file at the home care office. The assessor then needs to travel to level 5 or level 6 to collect information and then to assess the patient. One observation in the hospital was no physical space was designated for the assessor, and all written data required was not set up in one location. Example, the assessor had to request the ward clerk to bring up the patient's medical records. Second area of concern was that the assessor spent time trying to locate staff to further gather information on the patient. Staff were also not aware that the assessor was there and needed her time, her valuable time. So what did we do as a team? Firstly, we arranged to have all charting and records located in one area. Secondly, we founded a location designated for the assessor to input the information. Thirdly, we arranged to have a set time for nursing and the assessor to communicate. Hence, and having all information located in one area, a designated workspace, and having staff to prepared to communicate with each other frees up time for the assessor to complete work in a timely fashion. This then reduces movement and steps taken by 68%, eliminating time not conducive to patient care.
Hello, my name is Renee Claypool. I'm with Human Resources Department in Kelsey Trail Health Region. So I want to talk a little bit about work standards. In our work that we've done, we created work standards for both the long-term care assessor and also the patient care coordinator. We found that in the current processes, there was a lot of waste and duplication occurring and a lot of effort and time spent rechecking all of the work that was already done. So now that we have standard work in place, each party knows that the work being done by the other person now in a timely manner provides confidence and trust in the work that's being presented, and this trust is raised astronomically. This reduces a lot of the waste that we see in time, overproduction, duplication of checking all of the extensive work that was already done. Having standard steps grouped and performed at the same location also proved to be very beneficial. It saved transportation of about 36 minutes per round trip from the home care office to the hospital. Another very important part to note is adding a standard time that family and patient education occurred, informing them of their long-term care options and making them aware that the referral was actually being sent, allowed for the family and the patient not to be surprised and shocked when that call was actually coming from the long-term care assessor. Therefore, the patient's experience was greatly improved. So having standard steps performed in the way we do our work is very beneficial for the future as well, because we now have the same steps happening time and time again, and it'll be very easy to focus on future improvements.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hannah Harper, and I am a practicum student for social work on level 6. So, one of the issues within the PCC, Patient Care Coordinator, and Long-Term Care Department was that there was no standard work in regard to sending information from the hospital, which is the PCCs, to home care, which is the Long-Term Care Coordinator. There were previously 3 ways to receive the needs assessment: via fax, email, and inter-office. Therefore, we wanted to create work standard for the PCCs and Long-Term Care Placement Coordinator. And by doing so, we decreased the 3 ways to receive the needs assessment to 1 way, and that is via email. With this change, the orders will be received by 1 person instead of multiple people before reaching the intake nurse and long-term care coordinator. Another area we focused on was the level of care committee's meeting times. One of the problems we determined was that there was weekly batching happening in regard to the level of care assessments. The committee was meeting once a week to discuss the level of care presentation summaries. This created wait time for those patients waiting to be assessed. Therefore, our proposed solution is to have the level of care committee meet twice weekly and eventually moving towards meeting daily by teleconference. The results of this development will be that the client will now be aware of the level of care assessment within 24 hours.
My name is Jamie Lynn Jazowski, and I'm a patient care coordinator in the hospital. So this week our team completed work standard for patient care coordinators in completing the revised level of care request form. So during the RPIW, we identified a key element to the process is notifying the patient and the family of the request for assessment. So we built this into the work standard, a step where the PCC will discuss long-term care with the patient and family. We also added a time frame as to when the referral is going to be sent and simplified the process by including that the PCC is going to do the documentation in the home care filing system, which is called Procura.
Hello, my name is Brenda Kwiatkowski. I work on level 5 as a registered nurse. This diagram here is our first pre-Kaizen diagram that shows the different steps in the flow of the needs assessment form. From the time that the patient care coordinator started the needs assessment form to when the long-term care assessor receives it. As you can see, there's a lot of different steps involved before the form actually reaches the home care long-term care assessor. Our second diagram here shows the steps that the patient care coordinator took from the time she started the needs assessment form until it was completed. So a lot of different steps involved. This is our post-Kaizen diagram that shows the many steps that are eliminated. And once the needs assessment form was completed, the patient care coordinator just had to email it to the home care, long-term care coordinator and then to the long-term care assessor.
So our 5S project was a patient care coordinator office, and the pre-Kaizen evaluation, we scored a 1. And this is the office that the team tackled. As you can see, there's plenty of garbage over here. For some reason, a walker, a Christmas sock, and multiple papers. Oh, you missed another piece of garbage. This is all the garbage we took out of the office. And this is after. So we removed a bookshelf, freeing up some space. The bookshelf had just completely unnecessary items on it. Nothing for the work. And the evaluation, we scored 3.
As part of RPIW week, we do time observations, so we had done time observations on the amount of time that the patient care coordinator takes in completing the needs assessment. When it goes to the long-term care coordinator, who receives the needs assessment and records her appropriate data, then on to the long-term care assessor for work in preparation for going to the level of care committee itself. So when the visual representation here of, basically it's taken the time observations and just showing it in a little bit of a different format. So when you look at the double lines here, this indicates the weights that are occurring into the system, and we're all the way up to 419 hours. So post Kaizen, we did some time trials, and in actual preparation for the needs assessment form or the new form that was put in place, we had dropped the time, I think, from 43 minutes down to about 15. And based on the work that we've done with developing up the work standards and getting agreement by staff as to what is the appropriate amount of time to complete the work, we're able to shorten the time down to 208 hours. So when we look at the percent load chart, where we started from, we had 54 hours of work for the long-term care assessor herself. And we had attack time set all the way down here. So once we crunched the numbers here, we would have needed 2.3 positions in order to meet the demand that was going on there. Again, after the work standards have been put in place and additional work that we've done there, we were able to drop the work for the patient, the long-term care assessor, to around 16 hours, well under the attack time of 23. So the final target progress report to highlight some of the big changes. Lead time, we dropped from 419 hours down to 208 hours. The distance that the form actually travels itself was 171 feet. Now that it's electronic, it travels nowhere. The long-term care assessor cycle time is down from 48 to 16 hours. So this is the post-Kaizen value stream map, and you can see by the red X's here, we're able to eliminate the majority of the starbursts or areas of concern. We've got a commitment that the patient care coordinators will, from the point that the ultimate level of care is determined, to electronically transferring it over to home care within 24 hours. Look at the weight that we still have here of 112 hours, and part of that weight relates to the fact that if the long-term care assessor is only working part-time, that you've got inherent lags built into your system. So in order to reduce this, we need long-term care assessor working 5 days a week. So moving over to the what the long-term care assessor does, again, based on work with the work standard and agreement, we're looking at 16 hours. And again, we've got a wait here of about 72 hours, and that's based on the fact that the level of care committee is meeting twice a week as opposed to once a week. So as you move towards 5 times a week, that time will also compress.
So our waste wheel was conducted a little bit differently because of the length of the time it is to move through the process. So how we determined that is we went in depth with our team and explained the value stream map. Then we actually did go to levels 5 and 6, and we did go to home care, and that's how we completed our waste wheel. So during the course of the week, you can see that anything that we eliminated, we just marked out as X's. So for the newspaper items, we feel that we did make great strides in not handing too much over to our partners, but we did want to mention a couple of things. We know that right now, currently, there's a provincial AL, alternate level of care committee, and that they're developing a template. So I think as a region, we really have to move forward and make sure we don't add another layer or another process, and all parties come together and see what that looks like. The other thing that we feel strongly about is that we feel there's a lot of duplication between the long-term care assessor and some of the PCC work. So I think we need to look forward and determine who is the best person to be serving our patients. Also, we do notice that there is a limited amount because of the lead time and the part-time work of the long-term care assessor. I think that we feel that work should be Monday to Friday. So unfortunately, because this is such a complicated process, we were not able to get back and do a lot of the standard work teaching to our owners. So we are passing that over. Our summary, just our summary. So our work in summary, we were able to take 3 forms and through the help with everybody that worked on it, combine it to one electronic form. The patient care coordinators and the long-term care assessor all agreed to perform their job to a scheduled amount of time. Moving the bi-weekly meetings of the long-term care group to bi-weekly. And we need to trust and accountability to be able to work together for our patient, and also communication is extremely vital.
Hello, everyone. My name is Audrey Sandbeck, and I was the patient family representative for RPIW 39. When we started this workshop, it was emphasized that first and foremost, it was important to remember that the patient and the family comes first. We must instill trust in the process and realization that the staff are dedicated to their jobs and passionate in their desire to provide the best care possible. I feel that the workshop we have just completed has made great strides in decreasing the level for long-term care assessment on levels 5 and 6. Everyone has worked diligently, devoting their time and energy towards achieving this goal, and are well deserving of a huge thank you.